Okay, go!
What's up guys, Phil here today with another video, and today I'll be talking about the PlayStation 5. Hopefully you guys saw my video on the teardown and how interesting it was and how I was getting excited over backplates. But in today's video, I'll just be going over the specs of the PlayStation 5, the performance you can expect from the PlayStation 5, what the PlayStation 5 has to offer this generation, and if Xbox is actually competition this time around. But let's first start off with the specs of the PlayStation 5. So for the PlayStation 5, the CPU, it's an 8-core Zen 2 AMD CPU clocked at 3.5 gigahertz. Now this is slightly lower than the 3.8 gigahertz of the Xbox Series X. On the GPU side, it uses a custom RDNA GPU, but the PlayStation 5's GPU is clocked at 10.28 teraflops. Now it's about 2 teraflops lower than the Xbox Series X and 6 teraflops more than that of the Xbox Series S. The PlayStation 5's GPU has 36 compute units, where the Xbox Series X has 52 compute units, but where they both share the same thing is basically the RAM. It uses 16 gigs of GDDR6 RAM. Now in terms of storage, it has a custom SSD built inside of it, a 828 gigabyte SSD. So that is the specs for the PlayStation 5. Now there are two versions of the PlayStation 5. There's the PlayStation 5 and there's the PlayStation 5 All Digital Edition. Now the difference between the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 All Digital Edition is that the PlayStation 5 All Digital Edition does not have a disk drive. So it is much cheaper. Keep in mind that you're gonna have to download all of your games since it is an all digital console. Personally, in my opinion, I'll go for the one with the disk drive. The normal PlayStation 5, I like to have physical discs. I like to have a collection of games. Now let me talk about that direction that Sony decided to take with these two consoles compared to what Microsoft did. Now what Microsoft did is that they made two consoles for two different sides of the market. People who can afford the top of the line baller Xbox Series X, and for the people who cannot afford it, or for the people that do not have a 4K TV to take advantage of it. After all, most of us are still using a 1080p screen, so the Xbox Series S is there to fill in that gap. So that's the direction that Microsoft took with the Xbox Series. Sony, on the other hand, decided to sell one console with the same hardware, same power, but just with the removal of the disk drive so it can be a little bit cheaper. That's the direction that Sony took. Compared to Microsoft, one top end version, one, let's not say lower end version, but probably mid-spec version. PlayStation, same version, just one without a disk drive. So in terms of power of what you can expect from the PlayStation 5, it is meant to target 4K gaming at 100 or 60 frames per second. So if you still have a 1080p TV, now you can enjoy your games at 60 frames per second. In terms of the SSD that I did mention, so the SSDs inside the consoles, this Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5, they are going to play a crucial role in this generation. So with the PlayStation, it has an 828 gigabyte SSD. It's probably gonna finish up like this. I mean, games nowadays are like 100 gigs plus. The Last of Us right there was 100 gigs. Red Dead Redemption 2 was 100 gigs. I mean, these games came with 2 discs. They're huge. GTA 5, that's 80 gigs. Now that games are gonna be rendered and developed to play at 60 or 120 frames per second at 4K or 1440p, game files are going to be huge. But the important thing is the speeds and the transfer rate and the bandwidth these SSDs have, because if you did watch my previous video on the Xbox, I mentioned that these super fast SSDs allow games to load faster, they allow games to open quicker, and they allow game worlds to be much more bigger and expansive, and these SSDs cut down those loading times so you can just immediately play and enjoy the game as the developers had originally intended before hardware bottlenecks. Now the topic that I want to get on is PlayStation's direction for this generation. Now for this generation, we already saw what Xbox has to offer. They recently bought ZeniMax Studios, which owns the studios that are making Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop. And also Xbox has got Game Pass, which leaves you to think, what does Sony have to offer now? The one thing that Sony has been offering since the PlayStation 3 days is its exclusive titles. Stuff like Gran Turismo, Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War. They got some of the best exclusive studios and exclusive titles that the Xbox cannot match, or the Xbox has not caught up, or Xbox has neglected their first party games. That is what PlayStation has to offer. But compared to what Xbox has to offer this generation with something such as Game Pass and them having the most powerful gaming console for this generation until there is a mid-generation bump, it really leaves you to think, what do they have to offer besides exclusives? Because exclusives used to sell consoles. Those exclusive games were the reason you were gonna buy a PlayStation or an Xbox. But in terms of PlayStation, they have an expansive library of exclusive games. Either Sony can keep on pumping out great exclusives, which is the reason why some of us own a PlayStation, but besides exclusives, what can they offer to compete with their competitor, Xbox? What can they offer? Xbox here has got Game Pass. What does PlayStation have? Because exclusives are not gonna sell consoles forever. Yes, they do have the PlayStation Plus collection, which is a collection of PlayStation 4 exclusives and some of the best games from the PlayStation 4 generation, which can be seen as an Xbox Game Pass competitor. In terms, it is not. It does not have the expansive library that Xbox Game Pass had. So the question that a person like me might be asking myself is, what does PlayStation have to offer this generation? Not saying that I'm going to go out and get an Xbox, because I will get a PlayStation 5 first. What I'm trying to say is basically, what does PlayStation have to offer besides exclusives? What do they have to offer to the competitor? Because the competitor, Xbox, already has the most powerful console, and they got something such as Game Pass. PlayStation obviously has got the loyal fan base, and it's also got the exclusives, but for how long can they carry on selling consoles for? Because as you've seen, some of the exclusives have already gone to PC. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. It'll be very much appreciated. And if you enjoy the content that I make, please subscribe, you can leave a comment, and yeah. Thank you all for watching and sticking till the end. Peace.